Guinevere tailed Garrett as they made their way through the House of Blossoms. To the thief's dismay, the brothel was crawling with guards that evening.
Must be bed one get one free night,
he mused dryly. He looked over his shoulder at Guinevere, who was taken aback by his sudden outburst of crude humor.
Still think prostitutes are glamorous?
Are you ever gonna let that go? I didn't know any better,
she defended.
Of course you didn't.
The thief grinned. His attention remained focused on the dozen or so guards lurking just beyond the rich red velvet curtain. The opium was beginning to take its toll on him, and Garrett fought to remain focused.
You have a plan, I assume?
Guinevere whispered.
We need to get up to the second floor. But with all these guards around, that's going to be no easy task. Even I could knock out that many people without being detected.
Guinevere listened intently to the problem at hand, and she had a rather brilliant idea.
But maybe I can.
She burst with glee.
No, Guinevere. You've already gotten yourself in enough trouble tonight.
But I can do it from here, without even being detected,
she pleaded.
What do you mean? How is that even possible?
I have a sleep spell. Actually, it's more of a hex. It takes about 5 minutes, but I can perform a ritual that will put anyone who isn't behind a sealed door into a slumber.
That
Garrett turned around and gave her a genuine smile.
actually sounds rather useful.
The young woman felt her face blaze a bright red.
Oh, thank you.
But what about me? Won't it affect me as well?
The thief reasoned.
This isn't like that, Garrett. Magic is different than weapons or chemicals. It can be harnessed and controlled fluidly. If I do not wish for sleep to take you, the hex will not allow it,
she explained.
All right. Begin the ritual then.
Guinevere gave him a swift nod. As Garrett continued to be on the lookout for members of the watch, the young woman made mental preparations for her hex. She began to quietly whisper lines of ancient pagan, before her speech broke into high-pitched gibberish. Garrett was momentarily distracted by this, but the heavy sound of armored footsteps called his mind back to reality. Finally, after what seemed much longer than 5 minutes, Guinevere rose to her feet and threw her arms out to the sides. A wave of smoky mist wafted from her body, and her skin began to glow a light yellow. Her green eyes grew luminous and wild. The odd gibberish continued, louder and more intense. Garrett covered his ears as her chanting rose into an inhuman screech. For a moment, he almost ordered her to abort the ritual, fearing that someone would surely hear her. But as he opened his eyes, the thief was greeted by a welcome sight indeed. The brothel was engulfed in a soft grey mist. Silence flooded his eardrums. At first, Garrett was cautious. A part of him didn't believe that the hex had worked. But as he crept in and out of dark corners and dim candlelight, Guinevere's success became blatantly obvious. The thief wasted no time in swiping everything that was not nailed down. Turning to his student, his grin expanded.
You did very well.
The remainder of their progression through the House of Blossoms was rather uneventful. Madame Jiao Jiao's chambers were easy to find, and save for a few traps, just as easy to rob. Guinevere waited for Garrett to retrieve the book, picking up a tome of her own for perusal. She quickly shelved the novel, after a quick and rather uncomfortable peek at its contents.
It isn't here,
he growled, feeling through the unseen crevices of the madam's desk drawers.
Maybe someone else already took it.
Guinevere offered.
Impossible.
The thief muttered.
I'm the only one skilled enough to pull this off.
Guinevere smiled. She loved it when he spoke with such arrogance. The thief grumbled a string of curses under his breath, until his fingers found a small slip of paper, which he pulled out. As Garrett began to read, Guinevere walked to his side.
What's that?
She asked.
Just what we need,
He replied, as his eyes lit up at the paper's contents. Rushing past Guinevere, Garrett grabbed a hold of a nearby oil painting. The young woman cocked her head, confused.
I don't think we can take that. It's far too large to fit into your knapsack.
Her teacher didn't respond. Instead, he began to gently run his hands over the outer frame of the picture. Guinevere felt herself blush again as she watched him work. She began to ponder what those skilled hands would feel like if they were exploring the curves of her body. No, she corrected her thoughts, shaking her head violently. She still felt a bit lightheaded from the opium, and Guinevere decided to take a seat on the madam's desk until Garrett finished. He concluded his work quickly, and to her amazement, the wall the painting was on gave a deep rumble and turned in on itself.
Huh? How did that happen?
She inquired, shooting up.
It's the secret passageway this note spoke of. The book must be down here somewhere. If it's as valuable as Orion claims, Zhao Zhao would want to keep it as safe as possible.
Garrett held the side of the wall open, allowing Guinevere to enter first. Then, he cautiously closed up the passage. The passage was ancient and lined with bookshelves that were overflowing with tomes. Guinevere followed Garrett deeper into the ruin, taking a moment to listen as a man ordered one of the prostitutes to slap him. Guinevere found this rather odd, as she was oblivious to such things as masochism or sex. The bend of the passage led down some stairs into a dimly lit room. There, a vertical pedestal stood. Garrett stopped in front of it. There was a pentagon-shaped indent, and it was obvious that. The thief shakily pulled free a small bronze pendant. Guinevere gawped at the artifact. Her mind recognized it instantly and screamed for her to tear it away from him.
Garrett, where did you get that?
She demanded with so much aggression that the thief didn't think to argue.
Someone left it for me.
Left it for... Garrett? Do you even know what this is?
Guinevere cried out.
I'm assuming that if it's here, and hopefully will help us find the book.
He replied sourly. Guinevere's voice began to tremble with excitement.
Oh, it's far more than that.
What are you talking about?
That's a talisman of the old gods. It's called the Memory Keeper.
Guinevere explained, unable to help but admire the forgotten object the thief held in his hands.
How do you know all of that? More of your pagan influence?
Garrett sneered.
According to my mother's stories, actually.
I see. Do these tales also explain how to use the blasted thing?
Guinevere smiled.
Here, I'll show you.
Without thinking, she went to take the talisman from her mentor's hands. But Garrett's reflexes wouldn't allow it. He wasn't used to letting things leave his possession once he obtained them. Defensively, his fingers closed, trapping Guinevere's hand along with his trinket. The young woman gasped at his warm touch. The realization of what he was doing caused the thief to jerk back, releasing her. The talisman clattered to the stone floor, and neither the thief nor the witch was in any condition to retrieve it. As his eyes once again found themselves drawn into Guinevere's untamed green orbs, Garrett felt his heart shudder. He knew that he shouldn't be feeling this way. He knew that it was pointless to the task at hand. The sudden surge of emotions that the young woman managed to stir up within him always caused him much worry. He felt captivated by her, positively captured within those surreal green and yellow irises. He wanted to unleash his passion for her, but he was unsure just how to go about the delicate situation. Guinevere, in turn, was more than ready to spring upon her thief, as always. With a regret-filled sigh, Garrett was once again the one to assume control of the situation. He broke the hypnotic gaze and spoke.
You mind picking that up?
Yes. Sorry.
Guinevere couldn't help but laugh at her own distress. The act of laughing helped her courage to rise as she retrieved the object.
You need to line up the glyphs, like so. This is a basic combination. I should be able to figure it out for you.
She smiled, fiddling with the numerous brass rings. Garrett watched her work, his eyes captivated as the symbols began to glow as they were lined up properly. Finally, Guinevere pressed the talisman into the indentation on the pedestal. Slowly, the sound of gears turning found her ears. A very long set of descending stairs was revealed.
Coming?
Guinevere asked with a mischievous smile. Garrett walked up beside her and touched her arm. She looked into his face. The thief saw concern there, but also confidence. True confidence.
I have no doubt that you will be a great thief, Guinevere.
The two cautiously advanced across weakened wooden planks. There were 3 immense towers, and according to Guinevere, the book they sought was within the confines of the middle structure. There were more bookshelves here, some so full that they were collapsing under the weight of all the unread tomes crammed into them. Other shelves were rotting away, and some had fallen over. Still others were broken, their contents scattered about the floor. The thief scanned the numerous titles and found that many were not even in a language that he could read. After much searching and aggravation, they finally managed to find what they sought. Now, all that was left to do was escape. Horror gripped Guinevere's heart and glimmered like beacons in her eyes. Everything had happened so quickly. She remembered following Garrett as he led her past several enraged members of the watch. Apparently, Madame Jiao Jiao had discovered that an intruder was afoot. Guinevere remained frozen as Garrett held her close to his beating heart. Their exit had led to a trapdoor underneath a large bed in one of the brothel rooms. She listened as an unseen man began conversing with one of the harlots. The situation quickly escalated when he began to beat her, although Guinevere was unsure as to why this was. The thief quickly put his hand over her mouth to keep her from attracting attention to their hiding place.
Shh. Keep still. Don't make a sound.
Garrett instructed firmly. Guinevere locked eyes with her teacher and buried her face into his chest. At last, she heard another person enter, and the young attendant was pushed to the carpet below.
Oh, thieves!
She released a shrill cry upon spotting them. Guinevere only held Garrett tighter as she felt him tense. The next instant, an unseen force lifted and threw away the bed. Still nestled in the arms of her mentor, Guinevere looked up and met the most sadistic set of eyes that she had ever seen, save those of her father. The man they belonged to gave her a disturbing smile as the harlot followed Madame Jiao Jiao out of the room in blind hurry.
You! Who's your friend?
He grinned at Garrett. Without even waiting for an answer, the man rammed the bed towards them. Garrett pushed Guinevere off of him, landing her in the corner of the room just as the bed came down. The impact caused an oil lamp to fall free of a nearby dresser, catching fire to the carpet below.
Garrett!
She screamed. The thief groaned, but his muscular legs kicked free the piece of furniture with ease. Guinevere felt a wave of relief sweep over her. He was all right.
Even filthy rats like a good whore, do they?
The man taunted as flames licked around the room. He grinned and made a mad yet clumsy grab for Guinevere.
Come here, tramp!
Guinevere slammed her knee into his groin and bolted, rushing through the open doorway. Garrett followed suit, taking one moment longer to get in the last word with the thief-taker general.
Serves you right. You ought to be nicer to the ladies.
With that, he slammed the door, trapping the insidious general inside.